Hello, so the next one is the DeepC concept. So it looks like this. Let's bring in a comparison to the concept. And you notice that we have some channels in both, some color and some format. And on the deep ones, we do have some more settings for define the color in the front and in the back. So think of it like a ramp in depth. And then we have some alpha defining modifications like the uniform, additive and multiplicative. That's how the pixel alpha values are combined into one flat image later on. And what's the deep front, what's the deep back, and how many samples you want to have. So let's look at it in the first place. So I think it's a good idea to do it with a deep 2 points, and let's bring in the camera in here as well for the sake of it. I have some graphics driver issue. So that's what it looks like with one sample. So, and the one sample, if we sample this one, so we have one sample and it's going from 0 to 10, which pretty much should match our settings. So from 1, if I just go on up here, then it just travels through the space, which makes sense to me. So let's connect it in here, and then we see it properly down there, the white ones. So let's say I want to have 10 samples, then you notice, okay, they are all my samples. So that's actually, what's let me bring that in again. What deep looks like in space, in 3D space. So this is going from 0 to 10. Like the back one is here, it's going from 9 to 10. So the last sample has from depth value 9 to 10 and has this kind of values. If I change this one in here, we have a very straightforward values in here from RGB, just uniform distributed from 0.5 divided by, in this case, 10. That's the uniform option. We do have an additive option, and we do have a multiplicative option. And the multiplicative one is the one you most likely want to go with, which represents the regular color when you merge together. So if I change this to 0.5 to 0.5 and to multiplicative, then they look the same. If I change that to additive, we do have a different one, and the uniform should be much brighter. Yeah. So let's keep it as multiplicative. So switching back to deep, or to 3D space, to show a couple of things. So let's say I want a different color in the front and the back. Let's say I want to have a red in the front. You see that? It's starting already ramping to the depth, towards, from the front to the front camera to the back, from red to white, or red to gray to 0.5. So, and if I change that to, let's say, full green, you will see this one, and that's actually the depth ramp. And now I can just define like, hey, 5 samples, and then you have this one, and you see the proper distribution in here with a deep sample, depending on what kind of sample amount you have. You can define the depth. Let's say I want to have stuff from 50 to 150. Now you get like, okay, that's my first one, it's at 50, and then 140 to 150 is the last one. So this is the very back of my deep sampled area, and that's the very front. Now let's bring it back to 10, a little bit more real world, and let's just check it how it looks like. So if I would say bring in a deep crop and disable this and this one, so I can actually go through the image from front to back and have a dissolve. The more towards the green here, look at the deep sample. This one, I actually the deep samples, cropping them off. At 9, we got 1 sample left, and that's the basic color. It won't match the original one since it's not taking the multiplicative math into account, which is fine. just have to be aware of. And yeah, then you can just go from there. And that's your deep constant, which is, I think, a good start to actually have some deep data per se mapped into this one. Of course, you can just have a regular constant and going from deep from frames, and you have similar options in here. Let's say 1, 10, multiplicative, sample amount, so that's correct. But what you won't have is the uniform option, and those are just into those two. And you won't have to fall off into depth. So this is just like a little bit beefed up constant in depth or in deep space. So we mimicked this behavior here, this math from the additive and the multiplicative, and added the uniform as well. The uniform is nothing else than just, without taking any alpha values into account, just apply these values straight on. So you see here that every sample has the same alpha value, and here we're just adding on top regardless of anything. And if I change that back, you see it's getting changed a little bit different, and multiplicative even further. And that's the deep sample, that's the deep constant. And I think it's a pretty good start to get your deep constant going.